Hello everyone. So in this video we will going to learn about token customizers and token generators. So there is so many things about OAuth 2 components. So there is a many things we need to learn about these things. What is like authorization servers service, right? So by using authorization service, we at the OAuth 2 servers we are able to store the codes and also like a code challenge methods and all these type of things, right? So later we will learn, so we will going to learn all the component one by one. So as part of the today lectures we will only going to explore like a token customizers. So what is the use of token customizers, how we can use that. So first we will going to see as a bean how we can create the token customizer, and rest things will going to be handled via the spring, right? So when we go further, right, so at that time we will also going to see how to create our custom grant types, right? So now if you see mainly we are only focusing on the public authorizations type pixie plus authorization code that we can use for the public facing applications, because here we are not storing a client secret. But in futures lectures we will going to explore how we can create a custom grant types and all these things. So now let's start with this token customizers. So let's open the IntelliJ. So here we see this is our configurations, right? So, and if you are new to this like a video, you can follow the previous video where we have created this authorization service, and also we have a one video where we have created a resource service. So now if you see in this video, right, so inside this config file, so we need to create a one more bean. So basically what will going to be happen, there is a two-way for configuring this token customizer. And what is the need of this token customizer? First things, so just suppose, so here this is we have a one user, right, in memory user. So let's add some roles, right? So here we will going to add the role first role we will going to add like a viewer, okay? And also we can add other roles also, but for now let's have this only viewer roles, right? And let's have another user, okay? So user, name this as admin user, right? So this user will going to be, let's write the name Vikash, and password will going to be password, right? And this user will going to be have the role of admin also along with the viewer, right? So now let's implement one endpoints. So later we will going to write token customization. So now if you see, so inside the user we have added the roles, right? So we have a viewer roles, admin roles, right? So now if you navigate to the resource server, so this is our resource server order service. So now here let's implement to let's do one thing. So here let's create one class. So let's open it. So let's create one package, okay? Name this as DTO. So inside this DTO you can create order DTO, and it will going to be type of record. So here inside this DTO, let's first we will going to have a UUID, okay? And name this as order ID. And after that we will going to have here we can write this like a order type. So just assume these two fields we have inside this order DTO, right? So from the controller we will going to return order DTO, right? So here get orders, and it will going to be like a list of order DTO. So this is just like a dummy endpoint we are trying to create. So there is a no relation with the security for this endpoint. So please make sure this is just a dummy endpoint we are creating. So let's create a list, okay? So here we can create order DTO. So inside the order DTO, first things we need to pass like a order ID. So let's pass this UID dot random. I'm kind in a habit of like a Kotlin. So yeah, so this is all. So now we have created one endpoint. So let's annotate this. So it will going to be like a get mapping. So it will going, this will be the endpoint orders, right? So who can access this endpoints, right? So let's implement pre-authorize any user who has this authority, right? So here one thing, like if you planning to use this has authority, so you need to use like a roles underscore roles name. And if you are using like a role, then you can directly provide the name of that role. So let's use this has any role. So here we can pass like a role like a viewer. Let me copy. Yeah. So these are the two roles. Let's copy both the roles. So let's navigate here, and here we can paste it. So first role is viewer and second role is admin. Okay, so anyone with these two roles, any if any user has any role out of these two roles, right? So that user will able to access this endpoints. So this is the first endpoint we have created, and this is the secure endpoints, right? So now let's create another endpoint, right? So name this as or maybe like make this as a post mapping. So this is like a post call. Okay, so here we will going to return some UID. Okay, so it will be like a create order, or maybe here let's receive this order type. So this is the only thing like we will going to receive inside the body. So just 1 minute. Request body. So here we need to annotate with the request body for mapping this body, mapping this field from the post body. So this is all we need to do here. So just assume, so let's just assume like once we receive this, we have created this request, or if you want to initialize one list, inside that list if you want to store this information, you can do that, right? So this is another secure endpoint post type. So only admin will going to be access this endpoints. So let's remove this. So here we can use like a has role. Okay, only admin will allow to perform this create order operation. So this is like our resource service, right? So now let's visit our resource authorization server, sorry. So in authorization servers, if you see, we already have defined this viewers and admin, but we will going to if we create access token right away, right? So it will not going to include this roles inside the access token. For that we need to provide token customizations bean. So this is the first way. By using this we can do that. So for that we need to create OAuth 2 token customizers. Okay, and here if you see, we are using the JWT encoding context, right? So we are using the JWT token, and also that if we see like when we going to when we going to try to generate the access tokens, right? So at that time JWT generator will going to come in the picture. So JWT generator will going to look for the customizers of the JWT encoding type, right? So here we need to create a JWT encoding context. Please make sure here you don't need to use other context, otherwise it will not going to be work, because here we are using like a JWT. Then we have to create the authorization token customizer for type JWT encoding. I hope it's clear for you. And if you see, this is a function. Okay, so this from here we need to return a function, so that function will going to be invoked by providing the context. So from this context we can get what type of a JWT tokens we are received, right? If it is a refresh token, then we don't need to do anything. If it is a access tokens, then we need to add our authorities, right? But or we can say that like our roles, right? So let's do one thing. So here if we use if from the context dot get, we have a token type and get value. So if this value is equals to, right, so here OAuth 2 token type dot access tokens dot get value, right? If this is equals to the access tokens, then we will going to enhance this access token. So now let's get our authorization context dot get authorization, sorry, get principal. Yeah, so from the principal we can get like a authentication, type of authentication. Okay, so now we have a principal object. So by using this principal objects, so by using this principal objects we can access all the authorities. So here we need to call this get authorities. So if you are wondering, so here we are accessing like authorities, and even though if we see here we have defined our roles inside the roles, right? So behind the scene Spring will going to create authorities corresponding to all those roles, and by appending this roles underscore viewer roles underscore admins, and these things will going to store inside the authorities. So here we can access these things like this, right? Get authorities, and let's call stream, and here we need to map this grant authorities get authorities. So it will going to create authorities type for every authorities, I mean like for our roles. So here we need to collect this as a set to set. So it will going to give us all the authorities, right? So here we can say like, so now we will going to have all the authorities. So now we can do one thing. So we can inside a context we can create inside our claim get claims dot claim, and here we can create authorities. So let's define like this authorities, right? So inside this authorities we can store our authorities set. So this is how we can store this informations, right? So now if you see like a first we access that principles, right? And with that principles we just accessing all the authorities we have. So it will going to give all the authorities along with the roles by just appending the roles underscore roles name. So here we are just storing these authorities like this. So this is all here we need to do. And now let's annotate last part, please don't forget it. Here we need to annotate this function as a win. So this will going to register as a win. So whenever our JWT token generator will going to generate the token, so at that time our generator will going to utilize this customizer. So now let's start our server and let's see it is working or not. So it is started. So now we need to do one thing. So first call we need to make I already noted down each and everything. So now if you see here, so let me paste it. So this is the first call we will going to make. So in previous lecture I have explained this thing in very much detail, right? So here we need a client ID. So now if we see in our application, so client ID is, from here we can pick this. So this is our client ID, right? So here let's paste this is our client ID, and response type will going to be code, and scope will going to be open ID. Keep this as it is, and this is our endpoint. So let's pick this is our redirect URI. Please make sure to paste the same, right? because we need to use the same redirect URI which is registered with the authorization servers. At the time we will going to register the client. Okay, and code challenge we can use the same, and also like we can do one thing. Let's generate a new code challenge. So this is the site I am using for generating the code challenge, so you can use the same if you want. It is pretty slow. Okay, so from here you need to select SHA256 and let's click on this. So this is a code challenge, so let's copy it, and inside here you need to use the same code challenge, and please make sure to save the code verifier also. You don't need to again regenerate, because these combination will going to be stick together, right? If we are using this code challenge, then we need this code verifier. Please make sure not to generate again, right? So now let's copy this endpoint. So now we have prepare, so inside here let's paste it. So now if I hit this, so it will going to ask for the users, right? So now if you see inside code, right, so here I have created two users. So first I am going to use this Amol one, right? So now let's go here, let's type Amol, and password will going to be password, and let's hit the sign in. So now if you see, we will going to receive, this is the code. So now let's copy this code, let's cut it, right? We will going to use this code. So for time being, let's do one thing, let's save this code here. I'm going to use the same code. So now we need to make another call to the post call. So I am going to copy the URI, I already prepared it. So this is the URI and it will going to be type of post call. So let's paste it. And if you are wondering all these calls, so please make sure you have watched previous videos where I have explained how to prepare this URL and what is the meaning of all the fields, right? So grant type, authorization code, ID, this is our client ID. So let's copy it here, and here we need a code, right? So this is our code. So let's copy this code. Okay, so let's paste it here, and here we need a redirect URI. So let's copy the same redirect URI. It need to be matched, otherwise it will going to be fail. And here we need a code verifier, right? So now let's go to our application. So this is the code verifier, let's copy, and here we need to paste this. So this is code verifier. So now hit this endpoint. So here if you see, so we will going to receive, this is the data. So right, this is the access token. So let's copy this access token, and now if we go inside JWT tokens, right? So now let's remove this and paste it here. So now if you see here, so if you see here inside the authorities, we have a role viewer. So this is the role we have assigned this. So now by using this access token, if we try to access the endpoint, so let's try it. So now if you see, let's do one thing, localhost colon 9092, this is the endpoint, right? Inside the headers we need to create a authorization header, and here it's a bearer type token, and let's paste it. So now if I hit this endpoint, so it will going to give me a, okay, we have not started our application, so it's my bad. So now let's do one thing, let's start this server. It is our resource service, right? And now first we will going to access this endpoint, and this token will going to be valid only for the 5 minutes. So we need to test in 5 minutes. So if you see, it is working. So the second endpoint, if you see, this is like orders, right? So let's access this endpoints also. Let's remove this orders, and now if I hit this, So now if you see, it is saying like a 4034 forbidden. Why it is saying like a forbidden? Because we can this endpoint is like a can be accessed by using viewers and admin. So now if we go here, okay, so now let's do one thing. So let's stop this server, right? So we need to do one thing. Let's enable the tracing, so we will able to see exactly what we are receiving, right? So now let's do one thing. So let's open this properties file. So now here let's paste it. So now let's start this service again, and whenever we will going to start the resource server, please make sure your authorization server should be up and running state. So now let's hit this endpoint again. So it will going to say forbidden, but here we will going to have a lock, so access denied. Okay, and this must be the issue of let's see how it is like a okay, this is the principal credential protected, authenticated is true. So now inside the authorities abc we have a open id only, and to access this token handler since okay. So now abc here, so now like instead of this, so let's go here. For me it look like some issue with this has any role. So instead of this, like if we use like a has authority, has any authority, right? So here we need to append like this role underscore, but this is how it is edit role underscore admin, and same here has authority, and it will going to be role underscore like this. Okay, so now let's restart our server, because we have added inside the authorities. So this is like I am just guessing, if we added like inside the roles will going to contain like a admin viewers, then those roles will going to be work, because we have added inside the authorities by appending the role. So we have to use like has authorities. This is like my understanding. Let's see it is correct or wrong. It is still saying like a forbidden. Okay, so I found out the issue. What is the issue actually here? So now if you see, there is one class like this JWT granted authorities. So the responsibility of this converters to convert the authorities, right, by just reading the claim and just converting those authorities, right? So now if you see here, so what is actually happening? So this is the list of a claim, well-known claim. So this authority is just only reading to these these claims like scopes and scp, right? So here if you see, we have a scope field. So inside, from a scope inside the claim, it just read the data, and whatever the inside the scope, whatever we have, for example open id and all these things, it's just appending this scope underscore, right? So this is not we need here. So actually here if you see, we need to read the authorities from the authorities field. So this is we need to do here. So how we can achieve the same things? So there is a two way. So first thing is like we can write our own JWT granted authority converter. So that things we will see later. So the simplest way is just creating the bean of that converter. So we will going to use the same JWT authentication converter. Later we will see how we can write our own custom where we need to from multiple places. So the downside of this authentication converter is that we will only able to read from a one source. So for example, if I want to read from the authorities field inside the claim also, and also from the scope, that will not be like a possible. So this is only going to read from one place. So let's see these things first. So let's register this as a bean, and here if you see, so first things we need to create a JWT granted authorities converter. Okay, So let's create this. It is very straightforward. So after converting this converter, so we can write our own also. We will see that things later. I am just repeating the same thing again. So here first things, so this is like a set authority prefix. So here we will going to set the null, because inside the claim we already appended role in place in front of our all the roles, right? So here we don't want to append anything, right? Whatever we are receiving inside the authority, just append as it is. If it is role, then it will go, it will already going to contain the role as a prefix, right? And along this thing we also need to add the set authorities claim name. So here we need to pass from where from which location our application need to find the authorities inside the claim. So we have authorities. Yeah, so we have a authorities field inside the claim. So inside that authorities, our JWT converter need to find all the authorities. So this is all we need to do. After that we need to create a JWT authentication converter. Okay, so JWT authentication converter. So here JWT authentication converter, and here we need to set our this set JWT granted authority converter. So this is our granted authority converter. So now let's return this JWT authentication converter. So now if you see, it's a very straightforward. Here just we are enhancing this converter, because this JWT granted authority converter is written in such a way it is only going to read from the scope field, that is it. And whatever it will going to read from the scope, it will append, it will be going to append scope underscore. So here we just set this claim to authorities. So now we are telling please read from the authorities inside the claim, and no need to append anything, because our authorization server will already going to do all these things. So now let's run this server. So hopefully this time we will going to, it will going to work. So now let's restart our authorization server also, because I am going to use the same code challenge and code verifier. I am not going to regenerate again, because here we are using an in-memory author inside the authorization servers. Later I will explain that part also in detail. So now let's copy this, and here let's paste it and hit this, and password. So here we will going to have this token, access token. Let's cut it. So now if we go inside here, let's generate a authorization token. So here we need to pass this token, and let's click. So here we will going to have this access token. Let's copy this access token, and if we go here, so here inside the headers you need to pass bearer token here, updated one. Okay, so now if I hit this endpoint, so we will going to receive this data. So now if you see, this is the data we are receiving. So now if I cut this, so let's try to create one order. So if I perform a post call on this, right? So now inside the body we need to pass a row and as a JSON. So if I put it, so now if you see, we will not going to perform this request. Why? So if I issue this request, it will going to say forbidden, because this endpoint will only going to available for the admin. So admin, first we need to create access token for the admin. So let's do that. How we will going to create for the admin? So let's copy this, remove this, and paste it here. Okay, it will only already going to take that. So now let's do one thing. Let's restart our server. Stop this and let's restart. Okay, so now let's copy this again, and now let's open, and here let's hit this. So now let's enter this, because is our admin roles, right? So here we need to pass password, and let's hit this. So we will going to receive the this token. Let's cut it. Okay, and here we will going to go inside, sorry, postman. So inside the postman we need to make the same request. We need to replace this code. So now here we will going to receive this access token. Let's copy this access token. So now if I try to perform this request, right, so here inside the header, let's do one thing, let's update this access token. Yeah, so now if I try to perform this request, so if you see we are able to perform this request. So now if we see inside this access token what we have, so let's remove it, paste it here. So now if you see we have both the authorities, viewer roles we have and admin roles we have. So now if you see we will not able to read from the scope because we have set our claim to the authorities only. So in future we will going to see how to write our own granted authorities converter. With the help of that granted authorities converter, we will see how to read from the roles, how to read from the authorities, how to read from the scope. We will able to achieve these things. Generally we have a one field for all the authorities, but in case if we want to have multiple, then that thing is also like achievable. I hope you like this lectures. Thank you.